well. Uh, the background is still somewhat bland. You haven't really moved into the office, have you?
Oh, I'm here. It's
You're there.
I'm in. I will say this much though, I'm not a mayor of the office. I've had people say, probably usually older folks that say, we want a mayor that we know is in the office 20, and I can come there and talk to him. I said, you better call first because chances are good I'm not going to be in the office. But if you call and let Emily know where you are, I'll come to you in a matter of 10 minutes and meet you where you're at. And I think it's more important to be out there in the community, making things happen and being a part of the conversation than it is to be sitting here waiting for things to happen. I think that's a waste of time. So right now I have everybody connected by phone, by cell phone. Everything I
Mhm.
need to do through my computers is on my phone. So wherever I am, I can take care of business, whether it's email, texting, Teams messaging, and phone calls. So it works out well, and I think once people get to understand that, they're appreciative of it.
Exactly. And yeah, everybody says, at least in cities that have an administrator and a mayor, so they might be a part-time mayor, they say the mayor is really kind of the cheerleader for the city in some ways. You're there to you take the big scissors and ceremoniously, easy enough for me to say, cut the ribbon on a business or something like that. But you were even just telling me before we jumped on the meeting here, you were on some phone calls and dealing with things that have come up, and you're saying, "Yeah, I'm kind of learning that there's a lot more to this behind the scenes than I would have thought of when I was, just a regular old resident or even an alder on the council."
Yeah, it's I've kind of stressed that from the beginning, from the little things of, who keeps the lawn manicured and the flowers looking good, and all the way up to, right now dealing with, a lot of the mill stuff that's really taken shape, and then understanding just how much money is behind what's happening and how many lawyers are behind it, and making sure that the city can, still be a part of the conversation and understand what's being said enough to stay ahead of the curve in terms of what's coming down the pipeline and making sure the city stays whole. Because ultimately, there's when it comes to projects like this, it's the owner of the land and the buildings. Then it's the contractors that are being hired to do some of these massive projects to take things down and make them go away after everything it took to build them. I mean, it's a lot of money that's changing hands in order to make this whole thing go. And in reality, the city, if the city's not used to being a part of this because it doesn't happen every day,
Oh, right.
they're assuming. Again, I believe everybody's means well, but again, when it comes to this kind of money and everything that's happening, everybody's looking out for their own best interests, and the city has to do the same thing and stay relevant and involved as much as they can. So that's kind of what's happening right now, because big things are happening at the mill still, and they're all good things. It's just a matter of crossing the T's and dotting the I's and making it happen.
So, and you beating around the bush there with it a little bit. Let's just come out and right away say it. There's stuff going on right now that you really can't talk about because it's behind the scenes yet. Information's not ready. So anybody that's hearing this, I guess if they're reading between the lines, they're saying, wait, something's going on here. There might be an announcement coming in the near future. Will you confirm or deny that for us?
As long as all the T's get crossed and the I's get dotted, there'll be some big news coming.
And that's all you can say right now.
Yep. Yeah, and I think for the most part, it's fair enough for everybody involved. Next time we talk, we'll be able to, have more details on it. But, if you do say stuff now and things fall through, then you got pretty big egg on your face, and,
Hmm.
people learn not to trust you. So I think it's better to build the relationships on trust and keep the trust until everybody's in agreement that you can now talk about it publicly. And it's always tricky because it's a small, they're smaller cities. So rumors are always flying over, what's going on and
Hmm.
all that stuff. But ultimately, we have to be the responsible ones and make sure we keep the trust of the people that are trusting us. So,
And of course, because it's me, I have to ask:
sure.
is it Chick Fil A?
Chick-fil-A has been, it's not, but they have been in town twice now, in the parking lot over by the YMCA,
Oh,
the
the
Boys and Girls Club.
Chick-fil-A food truck.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Okay.
they got a good welcoming. There's lines there for days, so it was good, and everybody loves a good Chick-fil-A. So it was fun to have them.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. But
Testing the waters. I'm sure they're seeing like what
yeah,
would
yeah.
be, and if
Well,
it's
well, I'm my work here is almost done because the one in Rib Mountain is in the works.
yeah.
But and again, the story behind that, I came to Wausau from our office in Sioux Falls. When I left the office in Sioux Falls, I missed Chick-fil-A by about 18 months. They opened in the middle of 2020 in Sioux Falls. So I have always said it is my business to get one here in central Wisconsin because I missed the one in Sioux Falls. But so once that's done, I will find something else to place my tongue firmly in my cheek on to rib all of you city leaders and municipal leaders endlessly about. And who knows what that'll be. I'll come up with something.
Can't wait.
Indeed, indeed. One other thing that we got to talk about, and this is actually something that we just went through up here in Wausau. You are going through it as well. It's the property revaluation from the state, which means the property values in the city that have been selling are within a certain percentage or outside of a certain percentage, I should say, of the property values around them, meaning this state needs to come in, reevaluates all the property for tax purposes to make sure that the city is getting the proper amount of tax rate coming in. You're going through this process right now, actually. What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, and I hope everybody who is I guess a resident and that has had their valuations go up, evaluations, assessments go up, and business owners that own the buildings has to understand too that, like, I'm a resident, I'm a business owner, also on top of being the mayor. So all of my assessments went up. My house doubled, and that's outside of that. So I'm in the same realm. And just to make it clear to all the people out there that think that the mayor can get elected into office and then snap his fingers or her fingers and say, hey, we're doing a reval and we're gonna, double everybody's assessments. It's just not how it works. It all comes through the state in terms, and I'm not going to just speak to the details of it. We have asked our assessor to come to our finance meeting last week and explain with some more detail. I mean, you can only go so far before it's going over people's heads, but we tried to speak to the people a little bit more to get some a better understanding. And then our finance director chimed in a little bit just to understand how the mill rate's going to go. And how that all pans out is still to be determined. I'm not going to make any predictions on it, but typically my understanding is when the reval happens, it kind of redistributes the money throughout the whole city again. And some things go up, some things kind of come down in order to balance it out. But ultimately, the mill rate's got to come into a position where the taxes are going to be understandably raised because they do get every year, but it's not going to reflect the reassessments or the assessments that just happened. It's not apples to apples. So basically, we're asking everybody to just be patient and, let's see where things come in at the end of the year, as always, and kind of go from there and have the conversations that we need to have and be respectful because we're all in the same boat. It's not that a few people get to make this decision and make this all happen at the expense of everybody else. We're all in the same boat together because of the state regulations and statutes to this.
Yeah, indeed. And again, what triggers this is the state looking at the property sales in Wisconsin Rapids over the last few years and looking at the gap between where the property had been evaluated and where it is sold at. Because obviously, when the property changes hands, they revaluate it up to the sale price. Well, if the house next door to you is not changing hands, then the state may look at this and say, okay, we don't have all these properties valued right in Wisconsin Rapids. We need to go through and, as you said, redistribute things, and that obviously is going to mean something different for everybody. So, what you're asking for here is just some patience because we're just starting the budget process. So we don't know what this is going to mean yet for everybody because there's a lot of numbers that need to be crunched.
Well, and it's certainly a bigger, the bigger picture of how this even, what's behind the fact that, Wisconsin Rapids, where we were, 5 years ago, go through COVID, go through a housing crunch of where you have a lot of older folks that aren't moving out of their houses, that are living much longer. Not to mention, it's the biggest generation that we've ever seen in the history of the world. And them, those folks not necessarily wanting to sell their properties. And then we didn't have a lot of building going on for 2 years during COVID. So then that decreased the amount of new stock, housing market or housing stock. There's so many factors that go into it. And, but at the same time, it doesn't look like anything's coming down in terms of the prices on those houses coming down. So that
Hmm.
means they're staying where they are, going higher again. And the amount of money that some of the properties have gone for in Wisconsin Rapids in the last couple of years is, it's just kind of mind boggling. It's kind of crazy, and nobody expected that, and that's what we're
Hmm.
dealing with.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And again, just patience right now is the biggest part because, as I said, you're going through the budget process right now, so you don't know what this is all going to mean yet for residents. Where are you right now when it comes to that budget, and how much have you thought about uh, what's to come yet in the next couple of months?
Well, some people like this and some people don't, but I've been on the finance and property committee in the chair position for 2 years, and we started having budget conversations months earlier than they used to. Not that that changes, I guess, as councils change and people want to know more about it. But I personally think that the budget is the most important part of what they're asking us to do as a city. I mean, we make decisions on funny stuff like the color of driveways and all that, the little things. But
Mhm.
in the end, the most important thing is the money and making sure that it lines up to the best of our ability to keep our debt down and to keep the responsibility there for the people flipping the bill, which is the residents and the business building owners. So ultimately, we just got started. I asked everybody to submit their budgets. Operational budgets is what I'm mainly concerned with right now. We'll talk more about project budgets for towards the end of the year, but just getting a bit better understanding of what it takes to run each one of our departments on a year-to-year basis. And so that got started, and we bring the Common Council together for Committee of the Whole to do the budgets from the departments in front of them right away. So everybody has a chance to ask questions and dive in as much as they can. It's still not easy, even as an alderman, to really understand what the budget means unless you're in the department and seeing what's going on. But it's the best way we can do it at this point. So I try to give everybody on the council enough time and opportunity to really dive in and understand it, so that at the end of the year they're not voting on budgets that they really, all of a sudden they have 20 questions about each department,
Mhm.
and it gets really complicated, and then you feel rushed to, okay, I just got to vote, and you make a vote even if you're not happy with it. So it is getting going. It is in kind of full swing right now, and will be so until the end of the year.
Absolutely. One more thing then before we let you go, something that you actually wanted to bring up because something that has meaning to you. You've got the Buddy Poppy Days declaration coming up for this coming weekend as well. What brought this on?
Well, it's just something that the VFW, is very proud of, as am I as a veteran. Just Buddy Poppy Days, the 23rd and 24th. Just asking people to come out and support, make donations to the Buddy Poppy Days in the VFW for all the efforts that they do in the community, and to help out people in need and also help out veterans in whatever way possible. So just wanted to get that out there, and hope that we have a great showing, and are able to raise some money for some good projects.
We've got one right here in the WSAU studio. I might add, from a Buddy Poppy from a few weeks ago. Somebody was handing them out here in Wausau. I put it up in the studio. Yeah, they're handmade by the veterans, and it's a great way to raise awareness for everything that they go through. And again, as you said, raise money as well. Well, Matt, we always appreciate the time. We'll look forward to chatting again next month.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Have a good day.
You too.